I pretty much never thought about it. But never in a million years. But we just found a home in Norman, and we're moving June 1st. So we get to spend the summer finding new pediatricians and hair cutter places and such before school starts. So I'll be calling all of you guys to get ready. But I feel like God picked me for Oklahoma, and I'm very excited to move here. And we've been praying so much about it, and I've even brought some people up with me that are moving, so you definitely have to meet them. They're in this corner. So it's just really exciting what God's doing, and I can't wait to be here and not have to drive 2.5 hours to get home today. Anyway, today we're going to talk about being chosen, obviously, which is such a special feeling. I think about being chosen. So I didn't get to choose my kids, but they're pretty special. And my little brother is actually adopted, so my parents literally chose him because they would send us videos of children. And my parents were a little bit older when they adopted, so they didn't want a little baby, so we adopted a 6-year-old. And so we got to choose him. And I think about the day of my engagement. My husband told me that we were going to go watch a movie on a laptop in a park and eat sandwiches. That was our date. And I was like, this is the worst date ever. He said, no, I've been planning this date for a long time, and you better be happy about it and encouraged. And I was like, okay. And then it was pouring down rain, cats and dogs, and we're driving to this park, and he's like, oh, it's not raining over there. I was like, no, like the whole state of Texas is green, babe. Like, it's raining there. And we got there, and he said he was going to go check on something, but opened my door, and it really scared me. And then we started walking, and I saw candles everywhere, and my heart was like, because I knew, you know. And he just started saying stuff, and I don't remember anything that he said. And then he got down on one knee, and because we were outside and there was candles, he proposed, and I was like, I can't even see the ring. What does it look like? I was like, yes or no? It doesn't matter. But he chose me, and that was a really special feeling. I looked up the word chose, and it means to have been selected as best, to be preferred, to be called, to be exclusive, to be picked, to be popular. It's pretty cool. So today we're going to dig our heels into the story of Ruth and see how she was chosen. So you guys can turn to Ruth 1 through 5. I'm going to take my name tag off because my hair keeps getting caught in it. But nobody else can do that. I'll put it back on. So we're going to turn to Ruth 1 through 5. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Ruth was from a lovely place called Moab, which was Israel's pagan neighbor to the east. They had a really hostile relationship. There was a lot of bloody confrontation. And because of the God that they worshipped, lowercase g, God that they worshipped, no Moabites from their generation down to 10 generations after them were allowed in the assembly of the Lord. So I don't really know what they were like. I don't really know their worship practices, but it sounded pretty bad. And so we're going to pick up in a time frame where Israel was having a really bad famine, and Moab wasn't. And so this is where we're going to pick up the story. So in Ruth 1 through 5, it says, in the days when judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. Good boy name, right? His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. And after they lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Cool. Awesome story, right? Wrong. So, not a great beginning for Ruth or her poor mother-in-law, Naomi. Immediately, Naomi's husband dies. And so her 2 sons marry and take care of her. Okay, it seems like it's going to go well. 10 years after they're married, still no babies, like something, I don't know what's going on here. They die, and now they're all left in this weird pseudo-family of ladies that are widows and childless, all of them. Not a really good beginning, not very encouraging, and Ruth, and they're like cross religions, so also weird. And this story really, it should be forgotten about. There's really no reason why it's in the Bible, because these are patriarchal times, so the men rule, and this probably happened to women a lot, and it's just kind of like tough noogies, like keep living. And but Ruth wasn't forgotten. Her story is honored. And that's really encouraging to me. So I wanted to share with you my beginning. It wasn't very glamorous either. As she said, I was born in Ohio, but I was raised, oh no, I didn't tell you that. But I was raised in Chicago. I moved there when I was 2. And my parents are awesome. And when I was 15 months old, I was diagnosed, not from anything they did, but from just a weird genetic malfunction, I guess, with a form of cancer called retinoblastoma. And it's really rare. It's mostly in children. And I am best case scenario, and I'm fully blind in my left eye. I have a prosthetic. Translation, I have a glass eye. So if you're standing on this side waving to me and I don't see you, it's not because I'm terribly rude. It's because I just don't see you. So they had surgery to remove it, and I didn't have radiation, I didn't have chemo. So after that, I was good to go, just glassy. So it's not so bad as an adult. I feel like as an adult, we forgive each other. We like don't look at that person. I don't know, whatever it is. But as a child, it was really rough. Kids are just so mean. And they want to feel better about themselves. I did it too. You want to feel better about yourself, so you make fun of the kid with the glass eye. And it was really difficult. And I was teased a lot in elementary and middle school. And I became really bitter. And also very oh, you have cancer, I have cancer, so what? Deal with it. I just became kind of rough. And this was my rough beginning. And I think we all have moments like this where we're like, yeah, my life didn't start out so great. At the beginning, or at whatever beginning we choose. I wanted to read you a quotation from a book called Misunderstood. It's by Jen Hatmaker, and she sheds light on the 5 women in Jesus' lineage, and Ruth is number 3. And she goes on to say, this almost brings me to tears every time, so just bear with me. It says, "Friend, you are loved by a God who attends to brokenness. If you're alone or estranged from God's family, even by your choosing, nothing can obscure you from Christ's attention. If the whole world moves on while you're stuck, you're not alone. Like these women, maybe your best titles were stripped from you, wife, or maybe even mother, and life seems over. But no loss, no sin, no heartache removes your title as daughter of the Almighty." I love that. No matter what has happened to us, we're chosen by God. Amen. Even if we want to try and not be chosen by God, we're still chosen by God. So poor Naomi decides to take her fractured self on home to Bethlehem. Their famine was over, and I'm sure she wanted to be around people that she knew, and people that could take care of her. So she looks to her daughters-in-law, and she says, "Stay, you should stay here, go back to your family, remarry, you still have a chance." And one does. but one sticks with Naomi, and she is the heroine of our story, Ruth. In Ruth 1, 16 through 18, you're already there, so let's see what Ruth is made of. It says, "But Ruth replied, 'Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me.' When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her." Wow, Ruth is made of some serious toughness. She should go back and be with her family rather than stay with Naomi and move to a country where she would, be despised. She should. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. But she wants to be with Naomi. She realizes something different about Naomi, and ultimately she chooses to please God. And bear with the story, because it really takes a while to get good. So they go back to Bethlehem, and you think it's going to be all hearts and sparkles, right? I think all of us had a point in our story where we're like, and you think it should be great from here, but it's not. So she decides to work, and she gets a super awesome job. She picks up leftover barley after the harvesters are done going through and getting all of it. Yay! That's my summer job. I was talking to my husband about this and just how terrible it sounds. I guess when I was a kid, just hearing the story multiple times, I never realized how bad it was. And I was thinking about my worst job. So my freshman year of college, I was super poor. I got fired from a job sort of nicely. And I just didn't have a job for a long time, and I was hungry all the time. And that sounds so bad. I didn't tell my parents, or they would have taken care of me. But I looked for a job, and I found this terrible job being a mad scientist teacher. So I worked an after-school program where I would take this bucket of science material and drive all over the Dallas area and teach kids an after-school science program. Okay, I'm not a science person at all. So one time I taught the kids the planets out of order. And I gave them candy for memorizing it. So, but my friend Chandra and I went to go pick up our paycheck, and the place went out of business. It was closed, no lights, no nothing. I never got paid for this job where I drove all over Dallas. It was really bad. That was probably my worst job. But I'm sure it's not that bad. I'm sure you can think of a job that you have that's terrible, but Ruth isn't really living the good life once she decides to make Jesus Lord and really follow him and go with Naomi and all this stuff. It doesn't get better for her. And her mother-in-law is super sulky, and she changes her name to Mara because it means bitter. She sounds like so much fun to hang out with. What a great connection having your new homeland. And then she encourages Ruth to get this really great job. So, cool. So in my life, I had a rough beginning, but it really wasn't bad. I had an awesome life. I studied the Bible and decided to become a disciple when I was a teenager, and I grew up in Chicago, which is really snowy in the winter, but it is beautiful in the summertime. And I went to 6 proms. I don't even know. I have a glass eye, guys. I go to 6 proms. I moved to Texas, and I had an amazing college experience. It was just so much fun. It was so much fun to go to college and go to football games, and I just had so much fun there. I started dating my husband my second semester senior year of college, and then after a little detour in New Orleans working there, I moved to Dallas to be near him. And I had a really good job, and we got engaged, and it was hearts and sparkles there. You know, it's the good part that you're waiting for. It's the good part. And so we got married actually yesterday was our anniversary, and 5 years, 2 babies. I'm still here. So we got married, and in March, and then in August, I was at work, and I got a call. My mom called me twice, which isn't unnormal for her. She likes to call me multiple times to make sure she knows, or that I know she's alive. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, teens. Sometimes my mom would send me a text message twice just to make sure I got it. I got it twice. So she called me twice, I just kind of ignored it. And then my brother called me, which was my older brother, which is a little out of the blue. So I answered, and he was like, hey, how are you? And I was like, I'm good, I'm at work, I can't really talk, I'll call you back. He goes, you haven't talked to mom, have you? And I was like, no. Why? And he was like, okay, don't freak out. And I was like, freaking out. And he said, Dad had a seizure, and he's in the hospital. And I was like, okay. And I just like leaned my head into my boss. I was like, I'm leaving, bye. She is one of my best friends now, so she was okay with it. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do at all. I felt like, and he's in Chicago and I'm in Texas, and he was like one of my best friends. But they determined that it was brain cancer, and that more than likely it was coming from other cancer in his body, which it was. He had lung cancer, not because he was a smoker, but because he did construction work. He used to work for Wendy's International, and he was exposed to a lot of asbestos. And that's what they determined it was from. And it quickly spread to his liver, so lungs, liver, brain, not a good outcome. And that was like a gut punch to my life. It was really hard. And sorry.
It's okay.
He gradually got sicker and sicker, and it was just terrible to watch. And so my husband and I were driving home from his grandfather's funeral, and he said, I think we should try and have a baby. And I was like, okay. So we basically just looked at each other and got pregnant, and that's how it works. And we were immediately pregnant, and it like totally was not our plan. We planned to wait like 3 to 5 years, and we had been married for not even 2. And so I was 25 when we got pregnant, and then so what was really cool was we Skyped my parents on January 6th to tell them, and they were so excited. My dad and my mom were so excited. And so he called my older brother and his sister, and he was like, let me call you right back. And I was like, okay, not the answer I was expecting. But he called me back and he said, Sarah is pregnant, his wife, and we're actually driving to tell mom and dad right now, which was really weird. So we were like, okay. We found out we were due 5 days apart, and that was pretty exciting. And all my dad wanted was granddaughters. That's what he talked about all the time. He's like, grand-girls are just so sweet. Grand-boys just want like mud. Girls are so sweet. And so what another weird thing was, my sister-in-law and I found out we were having our gender reveal sonogram on the same day. We didn't plan it that way, but we 3-way Skyped my parents and did like 1, 2, 3, hold up a sign. And we were both having girls. And it seemed as though God really wanted my dad to see his granddaughters. Like, that's just what it seemed like. But around Father's Day, he got sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And that was the last time I saw him, was Father's Day 2012. And he passed away on the morning of June 24th, 2012. And I was due September 9th. So I was really pregnant. Mourning the loss of my dad, it was awful. And it was devastating to my family. And my hormonally imbalanced self was not really ready to have a baby. But I did, because that's how it works. Like, get out of here. Thank God. And what was the icing on the cake was that, so September 9th she was born, And then later that year, my best friend, who is my matron of honor, just kind of fell into some major issues and all of a sudden wanted nothing to do with me in November of the same year. And we had been best friends for 10 years. We met in 2002. And I never thought that would happen. I saw my dad get sicker and sicker. I never thought my best friend would decide to leave me. She's still alive. My dad's not. He would never choose to leave me, but she did. It was unbelievable. I felt like, can I catch a breath, God? Like, I can't do this. I'm so tired because I just had a baby. Where did Adrian go? And I am like so sad. And I remember locking myself in we had like a toilet room in our master bathroom, and I would just hide in there and cry and sort of hope that my husband would find me, but I didn't really want him to. And it was hard. And I decided to get counseling because of the loss of my dad in March 2013. And through counseling realized that most of my grief was stemming from the loss of my friend. And it hurt the most. And you know what is the upside of this terrible story that I just shared with you? Is that I'm still here. I'm still here. I still love God. And there were really low points in my life, but I'm still here.
Amen.
And Ruth's story does get better. But you know why? Because she has really tough spiritual grit. And that's what it takes to make it out of those low points in her life. She decided amidst trial that she would obey her mother-in-law, who was Mara, probably difficult to be around. She kept picking up her barley, and God had mercy on her. He really did. The Bible says that the whole town was stirred by her return with Naomi. Completely stirred that they would come back and then bring a Moabite. Like, that was on the tabloids for sure. But all Boaz, who was her current boss, future husband, and more tabloids, all he knew about Ruth was what she had done for Naomi. Don't you want to be known by your godliness, by your righteousness? In 1 Timothy 4:16, the Bible says, watch your life and doctrine closely. Persevere in them, and if you do, you'll save both yourself and your hearers. Boaz was one of her handsome hearers. And this is why we're chosen, because God knows that we have enough spiritual grit to be righteous. And maybe you don't feel like you do now. As I just told you, I remember my silent sob sessions in the bathroom or the shower. The shower was a great place to cry because no one knew I was crying in there. I came out wet. It worked. I told myself I can't do this. I miss my friend. I miss my dad. And this baby never sleeps. She does now. She's a great sleeper now. And those old scars really hurt still. But they're getting so much better with time. And God fills in those cracks with other good things.
Amen.
Spiritual grit kind of reminds me of a diet. Have you ever gone on a diet? I asked Tracy, how did you get so skinny? And she said, don't eat carbs. No one likes to hear it. So a year after I was married, I realized, holy cow, I weigh the most I've ever weighed in my life. Probably from like eating regular meals with somebody else who like eats a lot, and then I'm like, yeah, I can eat that much too. So I joined Weight Watchers, and Weight Watchers is really hard, but I lost 18 pounds, and that was awesome. But self-denial is what it took, and self-denial is really hard, and it takes a tough mental attitude, and it totally pays off. And we can be women of grit just like Ruth. So her story goes on that she catches the attention of her boss, Boaz. And her crazy mother-in-law tells her to like go pursue him sort of in a weird way on the threshing floor. And she obeys her. I'm sure it was a little odd. He ends up falling for her, marrying her, and saves her family. And I think the coolest part is that Ruth is like the great-great-great-grandmother of Jesus. And God used her crazy, weird, barley-picking story to make Jesus. And who knew that that was going to happen? She's a Moabite. She's not even supposed to be intertwined with the Israelites, but she was. And I think that God can use us in unbelievable ways. Not because we're perfect or had a great upbringing or because we have all the right answers or because nothing difficult has ever happened to us and we have really white teeth or cool jobs or whatever, but because we obey God and we do the right thing. Right. And we are here because it is somewhere inside of us to be near to God. Amen. Maybe you feel like you're a drag terror, but I don't think it was a coincidence that you're here. And it's no coincidence that you were chosen. Amen. Thank you so much.